Well, I told you guys that I needed a Porsche in my life. So let me introduce you guys to my poor man's GT3 RS. And before your thoughts get too far ahead, let me explain. This is frankly not a GT3 RS. In fact, it's not even a GT3. In fact, it's not even a .2. Follow me. If you come around to the back of the car, it basically reveals itself to be ta-da! This is my 997.1 Carrera S.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
Yeah, I know. I can feel the disappointment sinking in now. Let me give you guys the rundown, okay? Here's the storyline. I actually always wanted a 997.1 Carrera S. I think for the money, it is one of the best bargain Porsches you can buy right now. And of course, there's not even anyone back there. That is just... Anyways. Of course, she is manual. You already know I was not gonna buy a Porsche without it being a manual because true driver's machine. In the 997.1 world, we weren't at the innovative level of PDK yet. The truth of the matter is I always wanted a Carrera S. Did I want a fake GT3 Carrera S? No, but here's what the fake GT3 part allows and comes in for, and that is no Porsche purist wants this. They don't want this, not these in the color that they are. They don't want this god-awful wrapped carbon on a red painted hood for some reason. Yes, this hood is painted red and the whole car is obviously painted black. And then of course you got different bumper up here. This is a Porsche purist nightmare as far as how this car has been done up. And that is why I was able to score it for an amazing deal. And that is why this is the Carrera S that has shown up on my driveway. But of course, in a lot of ways, it also is kind of a head start because I actually really do like the GT3.2 bumper, no matter what you Porsche purists think. She's actually already straight piped with a full Fab Speed exhaust and some Feister mufflers, I believe. So she's not actually that quiet already, which is either gonna sound good or bad. I don't know. We're of course gonna get rid of all this rice and other nonsense that's all around the car. And you know, I'm gonna show you guys how JackUltraMotive is going to build up a clean 997 Porsche, hopefully. So first things first, which will be the easiest, is things that are just simply stuck on. This right here is wrapped carbon fiber. This is a JackUltraMotive sin, okay? You will never catch me with wrapped carbon on any of my cars unless it's for the sake of this one right here, to which I am immediately going to do something about it and remove it. But the scenario with this hood is that this is a red painted hood. So it's a red painted hood with carbon wrapped on top. And this is actually the factory hood. It has the factory matching VINs to the rest of the car. So somebody at some point decided that they wanted their hood to look a little more race car, but instead of just wrapping a red stripe over it, which anyone logically should do, they decided to paint this along with anything else that's red on this car is paint, including these mirrors as well. So yeah, we're doing some de-redding today. This video. Now, a top tip on when you are peeling off any sort of vinyl is that you want the temperatures to be very warm so that they'll usually want to come off in one piece and not tear, or possibly tear the paint underneath. In most cases, you'll use a heat gun to force heat onto the vinyl itself, but thankfully, we have Arizona's summer sun. It is over 110 degrees outside right now. Actually, I'm gonna put this right here while I unwrap. We're gonna see how long this lasts while I work on this hood. The car's only been sitting out for literally like 5 minutes so far, and it's already hurting my hands how hot the vinyl is. This is so easy, holy crap. Look at that. We're beating the ice cubes. They're actually hanging on really well. Wow, this surprisingly actually looks worse. Like, I actually thought the wrapped carbon definitely was holding it back, But I think no car deserves to just randomly have a red hood like this unless there's a livery purpose going on. So those of you who've eyed Porsches have probably seen these before. They are simply just PPF pieces to protect this area of the rear quarter fender from rock chips coming from the front tires. This is what I'm definitely a little more concerned about because I don't know if you guys can tell, it's completely cracked. This looks like the freaking Salt Lake bed already right here. So this definitely has to go. But the issue is that, is it going to want to go? Dude, it's already not coming off easy at all. Bro, this is gonna take forever. This has gotten so brittle that it's just coming off in the tiniest of chunks. Like there's no way to stabilize a single piece for it to all wanna come off. This is disgusting. I decided to get out of the hot sunny heat and move things inside, only to realize that this PPF was not coming off anytime soon. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes and the ice cube demonstration clearly isn't proving much because it basically looks exactly the same. We completely gave up on the side PPF and moved things over to hood removal, which quickly proved that it wasn't going to be any more easy. So this car has already given me a little hint on what working on it in the future is going to be like, because the very first bolt I touch, right here trying to take off the hood, is stripped. Like, it's literally a T30 and it won't move. This one actually rotates, so that's good. Right there you could see it's supposed to be a hex insert and it's just a circle. So I have no idea how we're gonna get that off because that needs to come off. I grabbed the drill bit and the screw extractor set and began one of the most painful automotive tasks. So much for that screw bit. Yup. Oh my God, finally. That is a screw that is finally out. Well, that was only the world's hardest hood removal if it wasn't for this freaking one bolt right here. Now we're gonna have to definitely go buy another T30 hex. The camera doesn't even wanna focus on it. Voila, we have a Porsche emblem. I wonder how much this is worth, but it's actually cool. It's like a weighty actual badge and it's bolted into the hood, which usually badges are just double-sided taped. It's getting repainted anyway, who cares if you scratch it. First miscolored part off of the car. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we dive inside the interior. Some may like this one, some may not, but for me, it is a little bit messy. The silver center console with the red accents as well as the red Sport Chrono up there. I would much rather have all of these interior bits match to the exterior metallic black, as well as the fact that all the GT3s of the 997s usually have the center paint match to their exterior color as well. But of course, to get these parts done, we have to take apart the interior. There is one piece. Second piece. We should have everything that we need off. Yup, let's go. If anybody needs some coins, that's the best way to get them out. I don't have to freaking dig my hands in there. So those of you that have keen eyes might have noticed that I skipped over a piece that isn't black on this car, which is this silver bit on the GT3 front bumper. Now, I am in fact going to leave this silver because it's actually not a separate piece. It is completely integrated, a part of the GT3 bumper, and I'm just not gonna go through the work to send the entire bumper off to paint for one person to get this specific bit done, just because one, I don't think it really takes away from the car that much. It actually adds a little bit of contrast to go with all the other silver everywhere. And two, if I ever do wrap this car, which I think I definitely am, I'll probably just have whoever wraps it wrap over this bit as well and match it to the bumper. But we can focus on other things, such as this red bit right here. And you know, as much as race car life is cool, we're definitely going to remove this from the bumper. Unfortunately, my car did not come with the factory cover for this, so I had to order a new one from Porsche. And the funny thing is, I had to order one specifically for a 997.2 GT3 front bumper. And you would not believe that this tiny little plastic circle can cost at least over freaking $40. So yeah, this is gonna have to get sent off to paint as well. So what we have here is an assortment of parts, none of which are black, and you can even see we have the red Sport Chrono that I took out, and we are pretty much red deleting this entire car, along with silver. Everything here will be black. I do have one more thing to add on. This is the one item that's been delaying this video, as well as all the other videos along with it. And this is the one item that is going to save the entire car. Right here. This is my Getty Design Sport Classic Ducktail. So of course I could have taken all these parts off ever since I first got the car, but I've been waiting to send these off to paint because I was waiting for this item right here to go along with all the other parts. This is indeed the best replica for a 997 Sport Classic Ducktail there is, and I believe this is the best wing solution for a 997 Carrera S. The GT3 RS wing is bold and it's race car, and it is really cool to see in your rearview mirror or eat on, but I don't think it's fitting what we're going for with the end game of this car. I also think it's definitely, it makes the car look like it's just trying too hard. So that's gonna go along with those parts, and once those are all black, this thing is going to be superb. I know you guys are looking at the mirrors. I know you're looking at these red mirrors. I know you've been thinking the whole time, how come they're not off? Stay tuned. I have a specific plan for those, and they will not be going to get painted. We are now headed over to Momo's garage over in Tempe, Arizona to get all of our parts painted. Some of them are here in the cabin with me, and then we have the hood itself in the bed, all protected. Still making good use for having a truck out here, I must say. It's definitely, it's come in handy when at least you try and run an operation like this here and there. Parts have been dropped off. We shall see them in hopefully about a week. And boy, we're not even doing a crazy color. We're literally just making them black, but I've never been more excited for my parts to be done because this is finally gonna transform this car. With the parts in good hands, I had a week to keep myself busy in the meantime. I decided to focus on other things while the car was just left sitting in the garage, starting out with the previous crusty front lip. Oh. This is coming off a lot easier than I thought. Dang. This thing is so ready to freaking separate. Oh, there it is. Oh man, what a tragedy. So now that this, or these, I guess, since it's two pieces, is now off of the car, let's have a conversation about lips. And I'm not talking about my lips. So when I went online to purchase a replacement for a 997.2 GT3 front lip, I ended up with this right here for about $250, which, you know, isn't cheap for just a piece of plastic that's eventually probably gonna get broken. But it said, made to fit for GT3, GT3 RS, and GT3 Cup. Here's where I went wrong. It turns out this is mainly just for a GT3 Cup, and it just also happens to fit on GT3 street car front bumpers. But the difference with the Cup is that it's a lot thicker. Like, it is literally double the thickness as the one that we just pulled off here. Look at that for comparison right there. It's hard to tell, but this is the old one, this is the new one. It's a lot bigger. I don't need any less clearance on this car. I'm gonna lower it even more, and this lip sticks out even further, and so far I've already witnessed scraping it, so this just frankly is not gonna work. So I had to spend more money and buy the actual OEM GT3 Street front bumper lip, which got us right here for a whopping $400 plus for this thing. Like, talk about an expensive piece of plastic. It's all floppy. I mean, obviously you do want it to be flexible. You don't want it to be like fiberglass, but we've spent literally over $650 in Porsche GT3 front lips. Actually, right here, this is basically a freaking bank vault of just money that is just laying on the ground. But of course, I don't think I will ever run this because I'm not going the cup route with this car. And I want the aero to be more aggressive. So I'll probably end up selling that. And then now we just have to slide this brand new puppy back onto the car.
Time to put in our expensive new OEM lip. The previous one came out easy, so you could only expect that the new one would go in easy, and of course, you'd be wrong.
I really thought this lip was going to be an easy slide in, like how it was to uninstall, but it is proving otherwise because there are these individual clips right here, and then of course there's going to be individual holes that they slide into. But the issue is that the holes are misaligned to the clip, which I don't really know how that happens when both of these parts, I'm pretty sure, are entirely factory. I've got it aligned over here and I'm working my way down and they're starting to unalign themselves. So what I have to do is basically drill into these holes and kind of extend them, which hurts me to do, to drill into a GT3 bumper, but this is the only way that this lip is gonna have all these clips align in.
Not only was drilling painful, but it was incredibly time consuming, and I slowly worked my way around the front of the car.
Now to then pop it in, it won't slide in under manpower, so you take one of these right here, you wedge it onto the top part, and you take a hammer.
There was a lot more hammering that continued on.
It's getting in there. It's not entirely flush. This is gonna take a lot of hammering. This was by far the most demanding front lip I have ever endured, but it is now on here, and hopefully it's not going anywhere. And also hopefully we make this thing last more than a month. So because we are taking so much apart in the interior, I figured we might as well do a good old while you're in there job and replace the factory head unit, because one, it has parts of a phone which are entirely useless, and two, this one in this car doesn't even work, and three, of course, who wouldn't want good old Apple CarPlay and direct connectivity? So the funny thing is that Porsche offers a legitimate Apple CarPlay upgrade for the 997, which is not really a thing that I have witnessed from older cars that came before the era of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and stuff. Like you'll never see a manufacturer actually offer a OEM plus upgrade pack. And so yes, that's the most convenient, coolest thing in the world, and yet we still bought a Chinese knockoff. Obviously, with Porsche offering anything for any of their cars, and if it's going to be a retro to modern upgrade, yeah, it's not going to be cheap. So their freaking upgrade for this costs at least like $1,200, which honestly, in the past, when I've bought like Alpine units and stuff and like shoved them into older cars, like you should be paying basically at like around like $200 to $250 just to give your car Apple CarPlay. And that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter, like, I feel like to me, certain quality differences of the screen. As long as it has Apple CarPlay and it like works, and you know, you hear clear audio, that's all you need, like really. Like, so I decided to save some money and get something for like $300 off of AliExpress, and we're gonna see how this works. I presume that it is. Obviously, actually, they're supposed to come paint matched, which is interesting, and it's not like, it's not perfect, but no one will ever notice. Oh, this came out way easier than I thought. I guess I did the hard part because I already took a lot of the interior out. Okay, so let's just start taking off things.
Once I got everything unplugged from the previous head unit, I simply just matched the plugs onto the new one and it slid right in, and it was as easy as that.
Alrighty, and just like that, we have our new head unit installed with visibly Apple CarPlay, as you guys can see here. I would just like to say, Porsche, you guys can keep your money because I'll be saving big time with this little $300 Chinese gadget that literally does everything that I needed to do. It was literally plug and play, so it was very straightforward and easy to install. But this is just some insightful information that sometimes it is worth saving big money, and the Chinese products are the way to go. Just like that, you guys joined me a week later and we are headed back to Momo's garage to go pick up all the Porsche parts, now painted basalt black metallic. Holy crap, this is hard to see on the other side of the freeway, but there is a police car shutting it down in front of all of the traffic. Probably trying to get this guy safe, but he is blocking all of this traffic out. We've arrived here and immediately I've found the hood piece that is enjoying the sunlight. And in the sunlight, I can show you guys the beautiful metallic sparkle that she was able to get down. This looks like a complete galaxy. So we got the interior center console piece, and oh my god, this is my first time seeing it glisten in the sun. But we have everything essentially matched to the exterior. So much better than the silver. Precious cargo is on board and we are now headed back to the house for install.
The parts were looking more beautiful than ever, and this was several weeks in the making. It was finally time to start installing them back onto the car. I started out with the hood, reinstalling the Porsche badge onto the front, and then we mounted it over to bolt it on, with of course using a new screw in place of the one that got stripped.
That's crazy.
First part on.
Moving onwards into the interior, I began installing the Sport Chrono clock in the most sophisticated manner, of course. I then brought in the center console piece, which carefully lays over the handbrake and the shifter. Once in, we were then able to add other interior trims, and then finally the shift knob itself.
It's funny, I did this just for like a color cleanse so that the interior was all just one thing. The black modernizes the interior a lot more than I intended and I thought it would. And of course that's a good thing, because unless your car's vintage classic, I feel like anyone wants it to be more modernized. So yeah, in person, especially the fact that you could still see the metallic flake while inside, this is by far a worth it upgrade.
I had a couple more trim pieces that I had done black from the silver that belonged on the floor by the doors. With everything in, it was completely game-changing. The silver and red accents really held the previous interior back, and now with all the metallic black, the car seriously looked 10 years newer. With the interior out of the way, it was time to focus on bigger things, such as the rear wing.
There's only like 4 bolts, 2 on each side, holding up this entire deck lid, and it is disappointingly loose. Like, I just did this one, and watch me break this loose with a thin wrench, one hand, boom. Like, I mean, I know they're only 10 mil bolts, but I don't know why I just expected way more strength needed, because it's an entire deck lid. This is like the rear hood of the car, but I guess these were barely on there.
I continued to unbolt the rear RS wing, and 4 bolts later, we had it removed.
We are no longer race car. We are no longer wannabe RS. Funny how the other piece is actually meant for like race car, but this is so much lighter. So technically we're doing race car weight reduction right now.
The new one slid on and bolted right up, and with a few other bolt adjustments, we were able to get it to close perfectly.
It doesn't have a latch.
Dude, she's so cute now. I would
Dude.
totally, I'd be caught driving this and I'd be happy about it.
Talk about an upgrade. I know some people may miss the big wing, but I'm just here to tell you guys that simpler is oftentimes better.
I then installed the latch to make sure that this thing would stay closed.
Not only is it still 100 degrees at night, living in the Arizona desert throughout the summer, you also have very common heat lightning, which, yeah, it's happening so often that I could literally just point at it whenever. And yeah, I mean, you just get used to it after a while. It's just always existing back there. But yeah, just warm climate areas, I guess. So yes, I know by now you guys are wondering, why are there red mirrors still on the car? And that is because I have these bad boys right here.
I couldn't help myself, and I locally bought 2 more mirrors for my car. The odds of actually finding 2 other mirrors that would fit that are both already painted in black are really slim.
Now, I don't know what the previous owner was originally going for with the paint scheme of this mirror, probably to mock the GT3 RS 4.0, although it is inverted in color. Who cares? The bottom line is that I have got .2 mirrors. And what is the difference between 997.1 and .2 mirrors? Well, the .2 mirrors are ever so slightly taller and bigger. It becomes a lot more obvious when you stare at the lenses from the back, where you could see how thin the bottom previous one is, and then on top you have way more rear visibility. The reason why they're different in size is that in between the 997.1 and .2 facelift, The US mandated a certain regulation of size for your side mirrors because of safety, needed visibility, whatever. They were like, these are too small, so they needed bigger ones. The reason why I opted in to go pick these up instead of just paint these is that my car has the .2 front GT3 bumper. And if you haven't picked up on any clues, I kind of want to do a .2 rear end on this car at some point as well. My plan overall is I want to do full .2 conversion on this, and that requires obviously the mirrors if you want to go to extensive detail and you want it to be correct. I also think it does look better just having slightly bigger mirrors. I know a lot of people actually prefer smaller mirrors on their car, but because no matter what I was gonna have to pay money to deal with these mirrors, I thought it'd be the perfect excuse to get new ones and find them both in black, never having to worry about getting side mirrors painted, which requires taking them apart with the lenses, all the wiring and whatnot. The funny thing is, to you guys, these look exactly the same, but they are actually from two entirely different Porsches. One is from a Cayman of this era, and the other is from a 997.2 Turbo S. Those will be my fun little factoids that only you guys that have now watched this and me will know about the car. I think it's kind of cool.
The side mirrors were thankfully a super easy job, just 3 small screws and then a plug to disconnect, and they were off and on.
Well, when the lightning first shows, only one thing can follow, and the storm has officially arrived.
Thankfully, being protected by the shelter of my garage, we continued on to the final touches.
That actually looks so goofy. Yeah, we gotta fit this
That
on.
looks better.
I made the decision to reinstall the Carrera S badge onto the back of the Sport Classic ducktail. I felt like it looked too naked without, and yes, there are other cooler badges you could put back there, and we could get those later down the line. After that, it was the cherry on top with the tow hook cover in the front, and our car was complete for phase 1.
Well, here she is, first time out in the sun, and oh my gosh. Yeah, this is definitely a massive improvement. So, I kind of figured this the second I took this car on its first drive, but it needs a new exhaust. It actually already has an aftermarket setup, which we will discover in a second what exactly that is. But it sounds too raspy, too tinny, too hollow. Not like how I'd want my Porsche to sound. Because it's summer here at Arizona and my garage does not have a fan or AC of any sort, we are here at the back bays of, you know, fancier shop area, to which this is where we'll be working on this in comfort and luxury.
My friend Christian was kind enough to let us use his service bay to perform this install. He would have a lift, tools, air conditioning, and far more knowledge on this matter than we would.
He's got like cowboy boots on right now.
You gotta work in style out in Arizona.
Don't worry about that. These racks, when they're super short, they'll like rattle.
Oh.
They're brand new, which is fucking stupid, but...
Wait, so is it safer if the car is a longer wheelbase or a shorter wheelbase? Put a smart car on here. How can it freaking teeter one way?
Sometimes they'll, if you put the rack arms in too close, so like a smart car mini, the car has a chance of tipping forward because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
These ones
has a rear engine, so it's
I know, it could tip back.
It won't tip back.
You break it, you buy it.
So the funny thing is that I've actually never properly seen under this car before because I bought it sight unseen. I took whatever photos and videos and stuff that I could receive. What a surprise! There's not much to frickin' see. It's all just, I mean, these higher end Euro cars, they got all the aero under here. So something that is bad underneath the car is this is a part of the front bumper and it has entirely disintegrated. If you see on this side, you could see some fiberglass from the bumper that used to be here, meaning that this was a mounting point, and it entirely sheared off, so it's no longer mounted to this bolt. So what we have here currently, this is actually already a Fab Speed catless X pipe. These are the factory headers. They are unequal length. These are the stock mufflers, but I believe they have what's called the Gundo hack, which is basically a piece that welds in between them. Actually, you can see it right here. It's this piece. These are separate. Normally, this piece connects them, and it opens up the noise, kind of like a, I don't know, an open valve type scenario. I mean, it doesn't sound that bad from the outside on video, but on the inside of the car, it's not really it. So you guys will never guess what the new setup is. It's fab speed again. But here's the deal, okay? There are just certain combinations that just ain't it, all right? This combination from fab speed is gonna be the closest thing with all of my online research that I dug to making my car sound like a GT3. So what we have here are equal length headers.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Those are gorgeous.
So yeah, these mount up. This shall give it the GT3 tone, but if you just did this alone with the catless X pipe, I think it's still too raspy, too loud. So that is why instead we have a Sport Cat X pipe that we're gonna add in. One, these should make my check engine go away because the O2 sensors can plug in right there. But two, it'll just muffle it enough so that it has a very pure GT3 tone and not just a over-the-top raspy droney type. We're switching out one fab speed for two fab speeds. It's gonna be a lot better, just trust the process.
Because one is better than two.
Because two is better than one.
Yes. Well,
We began removing the clamps off of the old exhaust and attempted at best to not burn ourselves.
Quick cool down methods. Ignore the fact that this could potentially take 5 hours.
We're making progress.
All right, now this thing has to come out. Yes.
little M-force would do the trick.
Shout out to the gavel. So that shouldn't have been too hard because that was aftermarket, probably not installed like too long ago. The headers will be a different story because these suckers have never been touched. They could possibly be a little rusted. So we shall see.
We made sure to drown these header bolts in PB Blaster and we let them soak for a bit before taking our first stab at breaking them loose.
Oh.
I knew it.
Wait, did it just snap?
Yeah. Called it.
Well, at least there is new hardware, right?
We're gonna have to just drill it out.
But yeah, we gotta drill out the...
There is new hardware though?
There has to be. Show the camera. Oh no!
That was a very distinct pop sound that we all know and hate.
It's either broken loose or broken.
I was saying, man,
drill into a block?
freaking these headers are gonna be difficult because they haven't been touched in at least 15 years.
Let's just get them all out. Because there's probably going to be multiple that are going to do this. That one's coming out. That was a very slow shear if that was a shear.
Yeah, there's no way that would be a
That
snap.
was a very slight.
Alright, this one might be okay.
Nice.
Nope.
That one's good.
Wait, that snapped too? Bruh.
So the problem is we don't know how deep it goes.
Yeah.
We're gonna, it's gonna be interesting. This is gonna be
A little bit longer now than
journey.
we thought.
It's crazy that it sheared that slow.
Yeah.
This was really not looking good. We had 2 bolts already snapped that we would have to go back and extract, with also not knowing how many out of the 12 more are gonna snap off. Christian had the idea of busting out the torch and using heat to prevent them from shearing. Using this method, we had a sign of hope.
Are we gonna finally have a full bolt out for this one?
we're gonna see.
And at least we can see how long they are too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes. First
Now we know.
full bolt.
You can see where they're
actually
shearing, right?
Yeah.
Heat was our friend, and even though I would have never expected to be lighting my motor on fire, it seemed to do the trick.
Bingo.
We found
go.
the technique. Using the flame.
Just like when men originally found flame.
Yeah, dude. Fire cures everything.
I've never been so excited to see a full bolt in my hand.
Yeah, literally, dude. Imagine having to extract every single one.
Oh man.
Only
I
2.
thought we were gonna have to.
Yeah.
And just when we thought we removed every last bolt safely,
Well, we got one header out. A little bit of a bittersweet victory. The last bolt just couldn't hang on.
Because of how far out this last bolt sheared off, we were able to use a socket bolt extractor to wrap around to the remains of the stud and attempt to remove it this way. We of course were not going to forget about heating it up and using heat to our advantage, and we crossed our fingers and prayed that this socket had enough in it to remove this stud.
Oh my god.
Please.
How do you get it out of there now?
Good question.
The bolt out of the freaking socket thing.
Worry about that later.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally, yeah,
That's a later problem.
Yeah. No, I still have an extractor with the bolt still in the freaking extractor at my house.
So what you can do is you can put like the extractor in the vise.
Yeah.
And then you can try to twist out the bolt the opposite way. And there she is.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
We're gonna definitely need to tap and die that before we put new bolts in.
Yeah.
Well, at least we know how to get them out now.
Yeah, right?
Assuming
They're just sticking out that far.
The other sheared header bolts were not, in fact, sticking out that far. So we would have to try different methods on extracting those.
We have a total of 2 bolts to extract out of this side. There's one right there.
That one's not coming out.
And there's
Well,
another one
actually,
way over there.
that one's
But-
definitely not. That one might. I don't know.
It
Though.
might grab, hopefully.
I don't know though. We'll see.
Since those were the 2 first bolts that we freaking snapped, we thought that we could have been in for all of them needing to be extracted, but it's a good thing that at least we've only cut it down just to 2 needing to be extracted.
We attempted to use the drill extraction method, which of course took forever to drill out the hole and get the extractor in there. Once in, we made sure to heat it up.
No shot. This. I'm not even gonna say anything.
No.
No.
Oh wait.
It's still broke though.
Oh god. Screw extraction will never fail to be the worst thing to do on cars.
With the drill extractor snapping, we were running out of options. I googled and learned online that there is a method involving welding that can help getting a remaining stud out. So we called up one of our buddies and had him show up.
So we've had to resort to outside sources. Declan is here with the welder.
Rough the old Lincoln Electric.
So what we're gonna attempt to do is take a nut, put it around the stud that's hanging out, and then weld the middle to essentially weld on and create a bolt, and then take it out like that.
We made sure to disconnect the battery and prepared to send Declan on his way.
Did you sign the contract yet? It's right here. It says I'm not liable.
Oh god. You've done this once or twice before, right?
I think. Should I welded the wrong thing?
Dang, you almost got
Dude,
it.
I can't stand this guy now. We now have a new bolt. Okay, we should probably use heat again, remember? Let's not forget the torch.
Okay, I think we're good.
Are we?
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
We had a breakthrough and we were finally able to move on. And with the bolts out, you could actually see how bad the point of corrosion was. You could see the corrosion slowly working its way up the bolt and the point to which most of them would probably shear. It was finally time to mount the new setup, and with it all laid out on the ground, I was able to truly appreciate FabSpeed's craftsmanship, their welds, and their presentation with this new exhaust. Not only do they just happen to create the best setup for the 997 Carrera S, but they also have some of my favorite setups for that of the Murcielago and other exotic and crazy cars out there, so I couldn't recommend FabSpeed any further. Christian was kind enough to complete the rest of the install himself, and before I knew it, I had brand new shiny, lighter exhaust parts on the underside of our 997.
We should go for a drive around the block. Oh, it already has like such a better tone between that like 3,000 RPM range.
people, it may not sound that different, but to me, knowing this car, the delivery of sound has changed a lot. In the past, there was an RPM range, probably right around when the variable valve timing kicks in, around like 3,000, 4,000 RPM, where it just kind of goes from this muted tone to all of a sudden like a tin can, just like from 0 to 100, just like that. Now it's all like smooth and linear, so you kind of get a like it all just slowly rolls into action. Oh, dude, it sounds so good. Now it just has that beautiful flat 6-tone that, I mean, most Carrera S's of the 997 generations don't have, just because I think overall, I mean, yeah, this motor doesn't sound as good as a beautiful 4.0. First things first, we gotta take care of this wheel gap on here. This is, let's say through two and a half fingers back here. This is a lot worse. This is 3. That's a solid 3 right there.
That's like a 3 3/4 right there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole car has like hot rod stance right now. Like it's freaking donking back here. What I will say is that this car probably has some of the best factory suspension I've ever felt, just straight from the gate. The way that it just floats along the highways and cruises, but at the same time, when you huck it into a corner, it stiffens up and it doesn't feel like it's actually like rolling around and stuff like that. It's phenomenal. So I'm a little sad that we're gonna have to take it out, but we got the best in the game to replace it.
Sorry, this isn't very satisfying.
No.
Boom.
Whoop. Bilstein B16, baby. We also had to account for the fact that this car came optioned with what's called the PASM. You know what it stands for?
Porsche Active Suspension Management.
Yeah, what Christian said. And so hopefully the coilovers also accounted for that.
In front of your eyes, we had the Bilstein B16 Damptronic kit. Part number 491150604 to be exact. The coilovers looked beautiful, and it looked like it would be a super easy plug-and-play for the Damptronic wiring. Thanks to my buddy Christian, we were able to use his lift to get the car up in the air and start the installation.
Oh.
What the hell?
So essentially what you can do with this loosened, so once you get these 3 bolts out, this will come down, obviously back to rest position, and then you can pull this out, and then this way, and then you can pull the strut out outside of the fender instead of trying to fight both these back and forth.
Something on a Porsche, that's easy.
It's like they think it through. They're like, okay, people are gonna do shocks on these eventually, so that's like easy for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a preset race car.
And then it'll slide down.
Oh, whoa.
And then just, there you go.
There you go. Now you just pull it right out straight.
Come on now.
Keep going.
Oh.
Nice.
Hey. Look at this. It's literally got like 3 little levels to it.
Looks like
barely anything.
It's like a Christmas tree.
The B16 Damptronic kit does not come with new top hats, so you do have to reuse your old ones from your car. And knowing the 997 that I happened to pick out, these specific top hats weren't going to exactly be friendly. We very quickly ran into an altercation with the bolt that was rested on top.
Dealing with a rusty bolt, part 70 on this car.
Blast you real quick.
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah. East Coast cars, man.
Dude, she may have had 60,000 miles, but
Dude, she is
60,000
the
hard miles.
Carrera S, you'll find.
Yep.
Yes! Jesus Christ.
The nuts on top were fine, right?
Yep.
elbow grease into it.
Yeah.
We're now at a minute.
So is it gonna
21
click? No, it's not.
Click.
It's just
I'll click.
okay.
Audible click.
Thanks, man.
It's done. Sick. Thank you, sir. Boom.
Beautiful.
Y'all.
Sick.
So close. Yep. There you go. Bingo. Do the honors. Beautiful.
Man.
Like all things when it comes to working on cars, installing the front coilovers proved to be more time consuming than we expected. I attached the nuts to the top hats and Christian bolted up and finished the bottom of the setup. We now had our B16s fully installed in the front. Just look at how beautiful they are. Moving over to the rear, there were two arms that were in the way that you do have to unbolt to get the stock setup out. Even with those arms fully undone, there is definitely a lot of shimming involved to get that factory strut out of there. But soon enough, with a little video editing cut magic, we had the rears fully installed and it was time to get on the road.
So we found the perfect road to test out the new Bilsteins on with them now installed. I can't tell if they're a little bit more firm or if it's just the fact that this freaking road under construction is so bumpy.
Oh my God.
Holy crap. This is the Bilstein test. If the ride quality can be smooth enough that our freaking boba drinks can stay in the little Porsche cup holders that they have here. Always have a preference for actual cup holders that indent into your center console over these little freaking clamps. But they're holding on. Haley's like stressing right now.
I'm not holding on. They're holding on better than me.
They're holding on, honestly, and these roads, we found some of the most freaking bumpy roads in all of Arizona because Phoenix has very smooth roads all throughout, but okay, yeah, this is
going crazy.
This is definitely...
No.
They're holding on. They're holding on.
But mathematically, they will fall because the center of gravity is like here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know how much we want to
If you drink it down a little more, I wouldn't be worried. I'd be like, that's so funny.
Oh, we got red light and we got new asphalt.
And
They survived. They survived. No, they're good. They're good. I will say I am very honored that not only do I have some of the best coilovers, the B16s, it's the fact that they were sponsored and helped out by Bilstein. It's usually not the case that, you know, you could always get the best of the best on board for your build. But based on what I've read through and just based on how these feel overall, like these are genuinely the best set for the 997 Carrera S. So thank you, Bilstein, for getting on board this project.
It was now time to reveal what wheels I chose to go on this machine.
Well, I think we all saw this coming. So here's the thing I have to admit. I may or may not have bought these wheels before I purchased the Porsche itself. They took about 4 to 5 months to come in straight from Japan, and it has always been my internal dream to put work wheels on a Porsche, and that has been foreshadowed by a video that was made 5 years ago, and I spotted one at a Cars and Coffee.
I don't know who you are, but shout out to you for putting your 911 on freaking Workmeisters right here. That's so cool. Major props, major props.
So yeah, it's no surprise it is my style to run Japanese wheels on whatever I have, whether it was an R8 or an F-150 Raptor, and of course a Euro Porsche once again has to have some JDM Hot Boys on her.
The work wheel in question that we went with is the exact same one from the video we spotted years ago. It is a gunmetal face Meister S1. Of course it's 3-piece, and these are brand freaking new. For anyone curious, the specs are in fact listed on the outside of the boxes here. So for the rear, we have a 19x11 and Porsche bolt pattern plus 42 offset. For the front, we have a 19x8.5 plus 48 offset. To break down the why, even though that shouldn't need to be answered, for the finish, everyone has a type, and I clearly have a type for the gunmetal centers with polished lip that's been seen on my Skyline. My opinion is that it is a finish combo that evokes quality while also being universal to any color you were to wrap or make the car down the line.
And another thing I wanted to point out for choice is that I'm really choosing these for the sake of automotive fashion, and by fashion I mean cosmetics. Although the great thing about work wheels is that they are quality wheels and they aren't gonna shatter on you. But because I'll admit I mainly am shooting for the attention or the hot boy aesthetic of these, I wanted to point out that these are actually a bargain in comparison to other hot boy wheels that people commonly put on 997s. BBS LMs, BBS E88s, those come to mind, and those even used sell for 6 to 8 grand for a set. These wheels, brand new, I paid full price, just over 4 grand.
And in my JDM biased opinion, as a fashion statement, these do exactly the same job as BBS's, just because you're gonna stare at this car and be like, hey, he's got some JDM Hot Boys on there, just as much as I would also get excited by if they had some BBS Hot Boys on there. So I just think they do the job phenomenally at a lower price. And also, Meister S1s are famous for looking deep, but not actually being that deep. So you could have a big front caliper without much wheel depth clearance and have a very positive offset wheel, but still look like you have a lot of dish just because of the design of the S1, how they simply just wrap themselves around the calipers as far out as possible. But because they cave inward down here, it creates this illusion of extreme dish. But the reality is this wheel is still plus 42 offset, which isn't that aggressive, all things considered.
If you guys have cars that have their hubs out, their calipers out, where you can't run aggressive wheels, well, S1s are the cheater wheels, and you could have deep dish with a positive offset.
You might have noticed my god-awful PPF pieces have still remained on the car throughout all the different transformations we've added onto it, and it's time we finally do something about this. Now, of course, this ain't gonna peel off like one simple sticker. If it would, this would be done by now. It is so brittle, it individually comes off in little segments based on what you can chisel at. And of course, yeah, this isn't recommended if you care about your paint, but this is kind of the only thing that I can do at this stage. And I'm gonna be honest, the paint on this car isn't perfect. It could probably use a whole correction. So we're just gonna do what we can. That way we can at least get this little added layer off. So now we're left with all of that, which I found that if you use some goof off adhesive remover and you just spray, let it sit for a little bit, and then wipe her down with this. So it slowly disintegrates into a bazillion little sprinkles, but surely, eventually, you have actual paint underneath and it is smooth. But these pieces definitely are factory from 2007 and have never been touched on this car. What has felt like a million years later, it is now entirely all off on this side. Look at what it remains to be. It's literally just peeled skin. This was once a full piece of PPF, but now I can enjoy the car not having that annoying texture in that one spot. It just now all is smooth gloss black paint.
I'm too tall for this. Now it's time for the moment that you guys have all been waiting for. It's time we put the wheels on this car. But first, we have some lowering to do.
You might have noticed the height didn't change much with the coilovers installed. That's because I didn't want to lower the car too much before I put the new wheel setup on because I didn't know where it would sit. These wheels were going to be an entire diameter down in size from 20s to 19s, and we also had different tires on here. Thank you to the guys over at Nito, we got some fresh NT555 G2s. They are the perfect summer performance tire with still maintaining a decent amount of tread so that I can take this car on long journeys if I wanted to or drive it all the time. Before buying any set of your dream wheels, it is important to make sure the specs are correct so that you don't have to run any spacers. You can look through wheel galleries on wheel distributor websites and hopefully they should have the specs listed below. In my case for these Meisters, someone happened to make a YouTube video with the exact same car and they listed it very clearly throughout, so I essentially copied what he had done. Now, depending on how much you prioritize fitment, and in my case it is a lot, sometimes the wheels may turn out a couple millimeters off. The front Meisters in the case of this car were just a little bit too inset for my taste, so I went ahead and ordered 7mm front spacers. Since Porsches and most Euro cars run lug bolts, it's important to get extended lug bolts when running a spacer so that you make sure your lug bolts are threading all the way. With the 7mm on, the fitment was much better in person, and now the wheels were completely flush with the body of the car. I can now begin and go ahead adjusting the height on our coilovers.
So Bilstein is kind enough to send spanners that come with the coilovers, but In order to adjust the height of these B16s, you just have one collar right here, not like your typical two that you break away from each other. And it is insanely freaking stiff. It's impossible. We're just not strong men, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
What we do here is we use leverage and use what I learned in Curious George when I was little, and that more leverage equals more strength. She moves. She moves. Now that was one turn, literally probably a quarter of a thread. We have at least like 5 more threads that we're trying to go here, at least like 10 total. Yeah, I don't know what sort of god strength that the Bilstein devs expected for us, but it's brutal out here. So if there aren't already a million comments about this, we're kind of dumb. We were struggling to break loose the height collar on here, and clearly you guys saw us use literally like a breaker bar essentially to twist this. That's because it wasn't actually set up to be twistable. Right in there, there's a little Allen nut key type thing. I can slide this in right here, and I can loosen that, and that's essentially the locking nut. Look at that. That was easy. No extension needed. We're just a little dumb, and that's how that goes. But thankfully now we can slam the rear. So you've noted what spoke it is from the valve stem?
Yep. It's always like the top right
Yeah.
corner.
Apparently there are laws when it comes to your wheel stickers, especially in the JDM world of wheels. So always make sure you know which spoke it is from the valve stem that your sticker will go on, so that they are at least
Decently close.
yeah, period correct.
So these kind of stickers always nerve-wracking because I've had so many that just pull off with the top thing.
Yeah,
So I
dude,
hope this doesn't
the
happen.
vinyl line that separates the work from the wheels is so thin.
How is that?
That is a hair. But yeah, I don't even know if a squeegee helps you. I think honestly your fingers are best odds of
Most
just
likely.
keeping that on there. No spacer for the rear, just because of the specs of these Meisters. You already know you gotta be on brand with your tire sponsor right here. They're already poking out a little bit up here, so that's good, because when she settles, she's gonna have some camber. Whoo! Oh my God! That is perfect! That is A1 fitment right here. Even almost ever so slightly tucking.
How about that?
It's so meaty. Like, I almost feel like the tire is almost too meaty back here, even though there's no such thing. But this car actually has like such a hot rod look to it. That's just naturally, I think, how the Meisters look. They're like a Japanese American hot rod looking wheel. Dang. Come check out how she sits now.
Oh, dude, that looks so good. That is sick.
Now, rather unfortunately, Christian didn't drive all the way over to my house just to look at the wheels. Remember when we had to reassemble the old top hats on our new coilovers? Well, it turns out one of the plastic pieces got put in upside down. It now resided in my car the complete wrong way, which I actually driven on it, and I didn't know how this plastic piece hadn't crushed itself. Regardless, Christian came to my house to disassemble that entire coilover so that he could flip it the other way. Boom. All this work for just that. He's a real G for that, and now the car was actually ready to sit properly. With all suspension and height levels confirmed on the car, it was time for the last mandatory step, which is to make sure you get in alignment. I also had a Christmas tree on my dashboard because the steering angle sensor was completely off with the bad alignment. So I arrived over at Porsche of Chandler, and they had a ground lift which supported my lowered car. It took a substantial amount longer than a normal car, let's say, to get her aligned. Every time toe would be adjusted, camber would then adjust itself, and you were constantly fighting alignment and disalignment. But thanks to my man Chasen at Porsche of Chandler, she was soon all ready to go.
So the car is back from alignment, and we have our test results right here. And you can see there was a lot of red before,
and now we got a lot more green. My boy was able to take a lot of rear camber out, so that prevents wear. And I wouldn't exactly call this setup a stance build. I would say it's just more functional hot boy. So I actually wanted camber taken out back here. It's always a pet peeve for me if you have more rear camber than front, because if you at least have more front camber than rear, you could be hot boy drift setup. But having more rear camber, I don't know, that's just ain't it. So now she's truly ready for the back roads. We got new suspension, new tires, and now she's properly aligned. Inside, because previously on the interior it was silver with red, a lot of stuff going on. We also upgraded the head unit, got rid of the 997 telephone that they have on there. But one thing that is crucial that I always want to do ever since I saw this on a 997 SEMA build is do a 991.2 upgraded wheel. This is actually a nice 997 wheel. There are worse looking ones that have all the like options and stuff on them. This is the bare bones one, which is good, but we're gonna make it better. In this lovely box here, I have the steering wheel. Whoa. I'll admit, I've already kind of torn it apart because, you know, I was a little excited. But here we have our wheel. Oh my God, this is so crazy. I feel like you should almost take this off last, but it's kind of getting in the way of our presentation. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen. So, I got to spec out this wheel exactly to my liking. So I opted for the Alcantara around with white stitching with the little, I don't know what you call this.
12 o'clock stripe.
The 12 o'clock stripe.
Yep.
Thanks to Zach, the 12 o'clock stripe. I got the trim pieces in black. You can also have these in like chrome or silver and all that kind of stuff. And then I think the main difference is just the airbag and the 991 wheels. It's a lot smaller. That looks a lot better. But, I mean, I specifically went for the white because we have the white gauges that go right behind there. Naturally, whenever you're working with airbags, you don't want to risk anything. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery, which in this car is located right up here. There we go. Now there is no power to the automobile. I think we should leave it open.
Yeah.
Because it's an electronic.
Yeah.
Don't make this mistake. If you have a car with electronic releases, you disconnect the battery, you have no power, and then of course you now have no releases. So if I close this, there's a chance nothing will happen. And of course the battery's in there, so I can't get power back to the car. There's gotta be a manual release somewhere. Every car should have that, but to save you the time of looking for those things, just try to remember what you're closing when you disconnect your battery. So we're supposed to take a 316 Allen, and there's a hole under here that's supposed to release the airbag.
You said you had to push pretty hard, so.
Okay, but I don't see how other parts of the wheel wants to come off. Oh. Ah!
Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
Oh, we're forced into now.
Well, we're definitely freaking installing this now. God dang it. Oh, dude. That's so messed
It's
up.
fractured in the same spot on both sides.
Literally. Okay, I'm just ripping this off now. This is not how you install a 991 wheel on your 997. Yeah, because like the Allen is all the way up in here.
Oh!
Yes! Dang. That was magical.
Heck yeah.
Alright, so for us, this freaking this freaking thing, this is just a random Torx screwdriver that I happen to have. Worked perfectly to shank the release out of there. Kind of wish I knew that before I did that, but it's alright.
This is a very satisfying bolt.
So this is an M12. This bolt right here is what is essentially keeping you attached to your car. Now we got to use the trusty marker, and we got to mark
The top and bottom, or top.
Yeah, as clear to us as we can eyeball it, the top of this steering wheel, the center of this steering wheel right there, so that you know exactly where to put on the new one. Yeah, you could even do the bottom. Extra credit.
Someone
right
actually
there.
already marked it for us with like some sort of score of some sort. But I wonder if this is gonna come off as easy as the tutorial we just watched.
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Easy.
How easy was that?
Yeah, it's crazy how little it's actually kind of like on there. But I guess that's one big bolt.
It's all about the
Yeah, it's all about this guy right here. I mean, that's a pretty big boy. So we take the new wheel. Then we could put that bolt in next. Dude, even just paired with the white Sport Chrono. Yeah, dude. This is already so sick. Man, this little freaking rice machine.
Do you know what torque spec?
So we have to torque it down to 37 foot-pounds. There we go.
So that's probably more than necessary just because this only goes down to 50, but I went all the way down to the lowest I can, so hopefully it's less than 50.
Oh, that was satisfying.
Nice.
That
We're in
is
business.
sick.
You know, I wonder if the horn's gonna work.
That's what I'm actually most curious about. In the past, I've installed wheels and the horn has not worked. So
That's my guess, but we'll see.
I'm praying that
There's not much travel.
Let's go! Dude, wait, do that one more time. Listen to this little thing.
That doesn't sound right, man.
If you guys know my fleet, every single car I buy tends to have a really dinky horn. This is one of them. The Raptor is probably the worst just because of how freaking gargantuan and menacing it comes off as, and then it just has this tiny little freaking car toot. And then the Mercy as well. It has kind of a vintage like 2000s just
Maybe one of these days I'll just make up for all of it and then put train horns on something.
Yeah.
This is the best Porsche wheel right here.
Yeah.
Look like there's nothing more you need. No buttons, no nothing. You could show me this image, this view right here, and at first glance, I wouldn't realize that this is a 2007 interior that I'm looking at.
Nice.
No airbag light? No way. No way. How is that even possible? I had an airbag light show up because this right down here, this center console, obviously we disconnected it to get it painted black and then reconnected it. And when you reconnect the passenger airbag thingy bob right here, it brings up an airbag light. I went to a Porsche dealership for a guy to code that out because only Porsche has access to coding out the airbag light. And then we literally removed the old airbag and put in a different one and it's not there. That is, I could have never predicted that. So no more trips to Porsche for me, hopefully. It is so strange. We have Alcantara in between our hands now connecting us to the car. It's a confusing sensation when you just see such a newer wheel in this older machine now. It makes me want to do the shifter upgrade. All the GT3 shifters for the 997s are Alcantara. That would go with the wheel. We just stalled. Whoops. That was weird. I felt like I actually had like marginal amounts of power. I guess we're still learning this car.
Now, I'm a man of personal touches, and what this car was lacking was some character. I decided that I would add some silver graphics to complement the silver piece in the front bumper that was kind of isolated on its own. I ordered some matching silver vinyl, and I measured out some stripes. I may not be the most mechanically savvy guy, but when it comes to vinyl, I happen to be somewhat familiar with. I was able to line out and apply my stripes with no issue, and already they were complementing the car well. Next up, I used my in-house vinyl cutter that I had in my office and began printing out some sponsors. Luckily, our partners have beautiful logos which happen to align perfectly on the side of the car, so I had them all measured out and began applying. My OCD wanted to make sure that the height of each of these decals were all the same so that the logos seamlessly integrated themselves along with the stripe. With all of it complete, it was the perfect tie-in to the lips of the wheels, and it created an awesome two-tone. The next day, I jacked up the rear of the car and removed the two rear wheels because I had an issue that I was encountering.
So ever since we lowered the car and put the different wheels on, as I drive around, the PSM light comes on and a whole bunch of errors like brake distribution and traction control, stability control, all these things appear. And it limits my sport mode, and who knows what else it limits throughout the car. Now, I thought getting an alignment would solve this issue. I was reading forums that was saying with the wheels out of alignment, it would throw the PSM off, and if you simply got it aligned, it would go away. Well, obviously we did in the last video, and it still comes on while driving. What ended up being the actual cause? Well, it was the rear tires.
These specifically. Now, when I first mounted these, I honestly was shocked by how beefier the rear looked. It kind of gave the car a big hot rod stance with a lot more rake.
The tire is almost too meaty back here, even though there's no such thing. It turns out that even though this car specifically is rear-wheel drive, it's not a 4S, it's a 2S, that if your tire sizes, your diameters, the ratios, if they're too far off from each other, then it'll throw off the PSM. The rotational difference that this car needs to be within for it to not be upset is around 4.5 to 5. And with the tire setup that I was running, the rotational difference was like 6.5. So we needed to get different tires. Now, I just wanted to point this out because this was particularly funny because I literally outed myself in the last video when getting this setup that I legitimately just copied someone else that had a Meister setup on a 997 Carrera S.
In the video, the specs are captioned out on screen, and that is exactly what I copied. But the funny thing is that he was wrong. He captioned out 295/35 R19s, and if I zoom all the way in on the video, you can tell that it is actually a 295/30 R19, which fits a perfect rotational difference of like below 2.
I don't personally know the guy at all. I was just seeing what was out there on YouTube. But your specs, your information is incorrect, and I'm probably the one guy in the world that you misled. But I feel like if you are going to caption stuff out in a YouTube video for other people to at least be inspired by that for their car down the line, you have to have your information correct. And so he actually was running a correct setup on his car, which is why he never had any PSM lights or anything like that. But he wrote out the incorrect spec, which I copied. So all of that leads me here with simply running a completely incorrect setup on my car this entire time. I'm pretty sure no one actually is running a setup that has this much of a rotational difference and this much of a hot rod stance. And so thankfully,
the homies at Nitto were able to send me another pair of tires. And so what we're gonna go with is 305/30 R19s, and so it's actually going to be wider than what we have here, but the sidewall is a lot more narrow. This is a 35 sidewall, this is a 30. I did the tire calculator measurements, and this should get the difference down into like around 3, or if not below 3, definitely under 5, and that's all that really should matter. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers here. So now we have the correct rear tire, and immediately I can notice it is a lot more properly balanced out to the front. Car doesn't look like it's supposed to be a drag racer anymore, but of course, there's a little bit more wheel gap because there isn't as much sidewall to fill out the fender. The car can settle slightly, but that is a little bit annoying, just because that means if I were to readjust it just to be perfectly flush, I'd have to go get another alignment, because that's what happens every time you adjust with height.
there's nothing yet. I'm crossing my fingers for the best of luck. It's not a satisfying process. You're waiting for something to happen, and you don't want it to happen. So if nothing happens, it's good, but it's never satisfying if nothing happens, because you're just kind of endlessly waiting. Well, I can happily say she survived the test drive, no error codes, and if I could educate you guys on anything learned from this lesson, always use a tire calculator. If it matters, if your car is all-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive Porsche, make sure that your tire ratios, your diameters, are not too far off from each other, because sometimes, I guess it matters.
Now, if any of you watching hyperfocus on small details, you might have noticed these swirls that are in my paint. And if you could notice any swirls from video alone, that's a sign saying that it's pretty bad. I dedicated an entire day to working in the hot 100-degree garage here in the end of Arizona summer to fully buff and polish and correct the paint on the 997. This is by pure definition a labor of love, and as torturous as I want to say the experience was, it was pretty satisfying, and the results were absolutely phenomenal. Take a look here.
It's time for side skirts.
While on call with the guys who sent me out the side skirts, I discovered that my car is actually missing factory pieces that are crucial to the side skirt installation process.
Apparently every 997 Carrera S is supposed to have some mud guards back here. Not mud flaps, but little guards that I am missing.
It of course means that I had to order some new ones, and I reached out to my guy at Porsche to get a quote from Porsche themselves how much the factory little pieces cost. $120 each. This is the best display of Porsche tax to the maximum. Like, these are tiny little plastic pieces that just get worn off that literally shouldn't even matter on a car. Anything else, I'm sure plastic little mudguard pieces like this shouldn't be more than 60 bucks. But it's 120 from Porsche for a car that in its cheapest form you could probably find like automatic and base Carrera for like, you know, less than $35,000. So the tax is just brutal with some of these, and of course I wasn't about to pay that.
So Pelican parts came in clutch, and they have them for sale for $74 each, which is a lot better than $120. Mudguard.
With the ridiculously overpriced mudguards installed, we can now move on to the main course.
Thanks to the lovely 997.2 GT3 front bumper that this car came with, it never lacked aggression in the front from the start. However, I'm a man of balance, and when you have a lot of aero going on up here, it is only fitting that you complement that with some aero along the sides, and we definitely do got to add a little bit more going on to the back, because yes, we are not going to be going the center exit route, which would allow us to have the GT3 rear bumper. Instead, I already cemented my 5-speed Dream exhaust, and with that, they are dual-sided exits, so we're going to be sticking with this rear bumper for now, and we have something to add on to this as well.
I have indeed been very, very fortunate that all of my Dream parts have agreed to be sponsors for this car, such as Bilstein, Fabspeed, and more. And that has once again continued with the complementing aero. They are a much smaller company known as EMC2, but they do in fact make the Dream side skirts and rear valence pieces for the 997. Ooh, yes.
Now, it is funny how small of a company these guys are, because these are the nicest side skirts and rear valence pieces I have ever seen for a car, meaning that this literally looks like an OEM part. They have thought of every single little bracket and mounting point imaginable, along with the fact that there is tons of other included brackets and literally rubber stripping that will bond the seam in between the side skirt and the body of the car so that there's no gap.
They have two separate YouTube videos, one for the side skirts and one for the rear valences as installation instructions, and they are very in-depth and very clear-cut.
So I've never been more excited to dive in, because I imagine that as long as I follow their YouTube videos very directly, I shouldn't run into any issues or even fitment issues in regards to this. I'm excited to see how they're gonna look on the car. First things first, we pop these out. Then we take these bracket pieces right here. I'm trying to use my finger strength so I don't have to hammer this and break it. Ah, there we go. There's one.
For the mounting area in the back of the side skirt by the rear tire, they made a specific bracket or two that you simply screw into the required rear mudguard. Here's the second bracket that replaces the screw that's already in your mudguard.
Then we have a little retaining clip right here. Slide that in as such. Boom.
Now we are officially ready for side skirt installation.
Installing the side skirts themselves were pretty self-explanatory. With all the brackets and stuff set up, there were just 4 easy bolts that you line in. I made sure to hand tighten all of them just for cautious measure.
Now for the rear valence piece, we have one singular piece with an additional bracket.
This additional bracket will clip on at the end of your bumper, just right before the exhaust tip.
Just like that, as such. You remove the factory T30 Torx. Now we begin our test fit. And she should clip into the bracket right here super easily. And we gotta make sure she clips in down in the middle. This is so easy. And there's no fitment issues whatsoever.
It only took me about 5 minutes to install each valence piece on either side of the rear bumpers, which is a new record when it comes to car parts.
Boom. This thing is flush to a rounded off bumper. I don't know how the heck They did the R&D to actually make this fit perfectly flush with no gaps in between. No gaps, as you can see, whatsoever. Final bit you do is you take one of your clips and simply clip it in. Boom, that is the most satisfying clipping sound. Overall, the side skirt is insanely flush. However, there are little bits of gaps here and there, and that is what this is for, which I'm not looking forward to adding on because this is very, what you'd say, tedious. And you gotta definitely take your time, and I don't wanna mess this up because you only really got one shot to line this out. Very gently, very slowly. Don't press too hard as you go in case you have to readjust it. I only see like wide body kits use these little rubber seams, but the fact that these are just on your everyday skirts, that's A1.
I slowly took my time filling in the rest of the rubber seam along the car, and it was indeed the last cherry on top, as we had now completed all of our add-ons for the 997.
So at last, with the cherry on top, you have your GT3 lip down here, carried into the EMC2 side skirts. Look at that. Perfect balance. It's even a coincidence that they both happen to be a satin / matte black texture. And staring at it from the side profile, the front lip ever so slightly still hangs down lower, which I think is good. That's a good thing. It's always better to have a little bit more front overhang than your middle. But if your side skirts hang down lower than the front, that's a huge problem. That annoys me a lot. That is just inverted balance right there. And then, of course, the rear would have definitely been way too bare with the factory Carrera bumper. So now, look at that. It's all sharp with a little tuxedo. It's got some nice valences back here to spiffy it up. It works out that the car still is black. You guys are able to get a good visual of what we added on. However, that may change down the line. Well, it is a good day for me and a bad day for Justin because this is the last time he's gonna get to see this car in black. We are in fact wrapping it, courteous of the folks at Vinyl Frog. They've supplied us the sand color for the Exorcist over there, and a lot of people still to this day are fooled by this vinyl thinking that it is paint. It only made sense that I would go with one of their colors again for this car. And yeah, it's definitely gonna be brighter, and it's definitely not gonna be a different shade of black. And Justin only likes black cars, and he actually really likes this car in black, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to the shop to be downgraded. And we got our Vinyl Frog here, and we are dropping this car off at Smokey's Garage down in Mesa, Arizona. You guys could go check him out if you guys need any sort of wraps, vinyls, anything installed onto the machine. It's funny, Justin had to come along and bring out the truck so that I had a ride so I could go home. So with that being the case, you have technically participated in helping me make this car not black anymore. How do you feel about that?
I'm pissed. I should have drove home yesterday, man.
Here she is. She is done. And on this channel, we've had some controversial wrap choices in the past. We've had bright hot pink. We've had straight up sand. And I would say this is another one because of, frankly, how much lack of a color it is. This is supposed to be Porsche chalk gray. It's kind of either you like chalk or you don't like chalk. I've always loved chalk. It's always been a dream of mine to have a chalk Porsche. And I mean, regardless of how overdone that color has become over the years, that wasn't gonna stop me from executing my dream. So yes, it does in some ways look like primer, but just ignore that, all right? Ignore that. This is a PTS color that is wrapped on top. And I will admit, completely by itself, it might look a little too plain. And so that's why we have this lovely tie-in of the Carrera stripe. Let me make sure I get my facts correct on what exactly I base it. Is it? Yeah, because I think it's the Porsche 2.7 RS. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I base this off of the 2.7 RS, the classic 911. And this car, it may have a GT3 front bumper, but it's clearly a Carrera S, and I didn't want to hide that, and I didn't want to try and have the car be something that it's not. So loud and proud, we are putting that it is a Carrera. And specifically, this vinyl right here, if you come close, it is a little tough to tell. It is slightly dark, but it is very close to the same metallic graphite gray as the faces of the Meisters. And that was a very specific tie-in that I wanted. I wanted to prioritize a complete build look rather than just prioritizing the color itself. And that's kind of what I wanted to go here with this more grayscale monochromatic approach. And especially now my brake calipers really pop the sporty red. And so, yeah, there's other cooler, crazy colors out there. There's ruby stone, there's yellow, there's Miami blue, there's all this kind of stuff. But I think as far as to tie in the Meisters, to tie in just the classic look, to tie in also the sport classic look that 997's gonna have, this flat gray was really our choice. And it really brings out this bumper too, these grill points that were very much hidden prior when this whole car was black. So now you have the really good GT3 look. Also, this piece that was silver, we wrapped this the same graphite gray that the side Carrera stripes are as well, just to kind of once again bring more tie-ins to the front. This is probably my lesser favorite angle inside of the car, just because the front has all that aggressive and updated fascia, and the rear still has the .1 taillights and stuff. And so soon, I'm still waiting on my .2 taillights to hopefully show up. I've been waiting for over a year now, but soon we will do a .2 rear end conversion on this car. And then I think the rear end will really shine, because in the current form on how it is, I think it is kind of holding the car back a little bit, but it still looks phenomenal. This duckbill still looks great. And then just in case y'all have forgotten, the interior is still tied in phenomenally. SG Auto Styling did a great job of cutting around the door sills here, and this is the beauty of having a black car. They are the best bases to wrap over, so you can't really tell at all. But also, yeah, the white stitching on the 991 wheel. It's got white gauges on this car too, and the white sport chrono. And so, yeah, all of it still works great with this colorway. So, not really much of a color change, more of a lightness change on the car. But if you guys know me, I've always been a sucker for like flat grays, flat colors, chalky colors, stuff of that nature. So I am thoroughly happy with how everything turned out, but there are a couple additional changes I want to attempt to make.
Starting out with my eyelashes, basically these headlight surrounds right here. This is all factory, but someone makes a kit that blacks this surrounding out, and that is exactly what the 997 Sport Classic looks like. And that car obviously is a very similar chalk gray, and I don't know if people prefer that or not. Either way, we could test this out to see if it modernizes the car. Here are the eyebrows, eyelids, eyelashes, whatever you want to call them. Whoever made these actually marked them to driver's right and driver's left, but they are pre-cut out and they're going to be wet application. Oh, this looks really good.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
This looks really good. Yeah, it looks a lot more like a Sport Classic. So one of the things that I think is going to make the rear look a little more sporty is having this centerpiece right here black, and it's something that I actually should have told SG Auto Styling to leave out. It was on me that I forgot to tell him about that, so he wrapped over it anyways. No harm on his end, but now I'm just gonna try and remove it right here, and I think it'll look a little more like a GTS, a little more sporty and not so plain. So you're really on there, but I also am being like careful because I cannot afford to rip the wrong place.
Well, that piece is now back to black, and I think it just helps the bumper not look as fat, makes it look a little more sporty, and it just kind of connects those two exhaust areas. These are the factory taillights, and mine have always been damaged with a little puncture right there, and I feel like they hold the car back, especially because at the front of the car we've had a facelift GT3 front bumper, and I've also added facelift side mirrors.
These right here are new aftermarket taillights that we went all the way out to Southern California on a little road trip.
So we just bought some car parts
to go pickup.
These taillights are a direct fit. They're a direct plug and play to how the car sits right now. And they are meant to look like the LED facelift models of the Porsche 997s, helping our facelift work its way to the back of the car with the stuff that we currently have going on up front.
Now, I wasn't supposed to get these. In fact, I actually still have taillights for this car that have been on order since like last May. Big Porsche nerds that might remember what I've said in previous videos about this car may know what I'm talking about. But basically, there are two rear ends of this car. There's the pre-facelift, which this car is. It looks like this. And then you have the facelift rear end, which looks like this. Now, hopefully you guys can tell the differences of rear ends from those photos, but the newer facelift taillights are slightly different in shape. It would require a different rear bumper, which I have had. Some of you guys have noticed in other videos, it's sitting around in my garage. And then of course, I've been waiting for my new OEM rear facelift taillights to come in. And since it's been taking so long, I got a little bit impatient. And so what these are aftermarket LED taillights that are meant to look like the factory OEM facelift taillight, but you do not need a different rear bumper. It just goes straight into the .1 taillight right here, direct plug and play. Between you and me, guys, if I end up liking these aftermarket taillights so much, I might think about not even doing the OEM facelift rear end conversion, just because it still requires a lot of money. There are taillight modules you need. You have to do a couple cutting, a lot of fitment work to make all that work out. And really, the biggest issue right now is left with the car is just those taillights. And so we might be solving it right here, right now. We start by opening this thing up.
Now, based on what I've seen online, this just might be the easiest taillight job in the world because it should be just these bolts right here that you have to undo and then it'll pop right out.
These things were not even that tight. Wow, these are like almost hand tied in here and that's all it takes and boom. These are literally the easiest taillights I've ever had access to. All of them are attached to just one connector right here. So we just gotta undo this.
Now it is time to connect up our new modern boys. I do want to point out that there are some missing screw mounts on the aftermarket ones, and you simply have to remove that off of your OEM. Here's the bracket right here. You take this bracket and you gotta reinstall it to your aftermarket ones for the bolts to line up.
Now I'm gonna start by sliding this back section in first, and that'll lock it into place. Obviously it doesn't want to come out. These are not going anywhere, they're in there.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unarguable that this looks better than this over here. And it's ironic that I'm saying that because we previously just swapped out aftermarket LED taillights on my Skyline GTR to OEM ones, but today we're doing the opposite. There's no laws when it comes to cars. I don't make the rules, but in this scenario, I just think this is actually what this car needs. So we got both lights fully installed, and I waited for the sun to go down a little bit so you could see what they look like at night. And you could see the LED look definitely does look a little more modern on this car, a little more fitting on this car. I know we didn't like the LED look on the Skyline, but Skyline's more old school. It needs different things. Porsche, however, I think this definitely is an improvement.